Hey, welcome back to another episode. So, for those of you that know, I went to the Empower Her Live event a few months ago in September. This is Keisha Get Mary's Empower Her Live event that she does around her podcast, which is called Empower Her. Anyways, and one of the speakers there was Trent Shelton. And he got up and he was talking about his life and how, basically how he got where he was, right? Because something that I really recognize is that we are truly all human. Like, we all have decisions that we get to make. We all are people with brains who offer up the same shit. Like, you are a person with a brain and you are so capable. And what he said that hit me really hard was, are you consistent at the things that don't serve you? And what he was talking about, right? Because we talk about when building a business, consistency is key. And we need to stay consistent at what serves us, right? Like, I've stayed consistent with this podcast. I drop 3 episodes a week. I drop a regular episode every Monday. And then on Wednesdays and Fridays, I drop what I call a mom life pep talk. And he was talking about how sometimes we are consistent at, oh, let's pull up my Candy Crush habit again, but let's pull up Candy Crush. Well, I got real consistent at playing that daily. And then I was slacking in showing up where I needed to in my business daily. And what kind of results is that going to create? And so I want you to really think about your life and what you desire to create in your life. What kind of life do you want to live? How do you want it to feel? Maybe you have a business and you're like, I don't know why it's not growing. I'm doing this and this. Maybe you're being consistent at the things that actually aren't going to generate any revenue for you. And so you really get to take a step back and really think about how you want to show up consistently, and also recognizing what is moving that needle forward in your life or in your business in the direction that you want to go. And for me, I came to realize that it was my podcast. It was showing up on social media. It was doing all of these things and allowing that to take root. And so I have a coach who talks about it like putting popcorn in the microwave, right? So we find the things that are revenue generating. So for me, the podcast, social media, whatever, and we put that in a bag and we throw it in the microwave and we close it and we set that timer for like 3.5, 4 minutes, whatever it is, 4 minutes and 10 seconds for my microwave. But pop it in the microwave. Well, if we keep opening that microwave to check on the popcorn, it's not going to pop how it should, right? We're going to slow it down because then we're going to have to close it and we're going to have to start the microwave again. And it's going to have to reheat up and like all these things. And so it's the same thing. It's like, okay, you find your revenue generators in life or business. Let's say revenue in life, like showing up as the mom that you want to be. And you're like, oh, I really enjoy showing up this way. So you start showing up in that way. And then that old habit peeks back in, right? And it's like, oh, maybe let's try this for a second. So that's like opening the microwave door. So then you're doing it that way and you're like, nope, this really isn't working. I got to go back to the old way. And then you go back to the other way and you keep playing this little dance, right? Tony Robbins calls it the dance of life. But now you're like bouncing back and forth, doing this little dance, and you're slowing down your progress. You have to stop doing that. You get to figure out what moves the needle forward in your life and stick with that for a while. Like, if you look at social media for any business, it's going to take 3 to 6 months to really reap the rewards of what that action will cause. So if today you start doing something completely different, you need to continue that for 3 to 6 months to start to see the results that that's creating. And so it's the same thing in your life. Like, let's think about how you've shown up as a mom, because this is my case right now too. My oldest 2 got two versions of me, right? I had a baby when I was 19. I had my first when I was 19. 20, I was like 22. So I'm like doing the math in my head, but I was like 22 when I had my second. And although I felt more mature or more equipped with like the mental and emotional capacity, I still was not amazing. And so they got the reactive, overwhelmed, frustrated, stressed out, worst version of me as a mom, right? I still felt like I was fairly fun, but I could like feel this better version of me inside. I could feel that person that I really desired to be, but I didn't know how to get her out. Then I started on my personal development journey, and this was probably close to the time. This was probably a few years before I had my third baby. So probably like 2010, because I've probably been on my personal development journey for like about 12 years at this point. But then I went through this whole personal development journey, and my two oldest got to see this whole shift, right? But what they learned at a young age still stuck with them. So it's going to take them the time to be like, oh, mom has really shifted. She really has made these changes. These changes really are here to stay and stick. And so then we're going to start to see the results that like they're going to respond to. So it's like the same thing with your audience, right? It's like, oh, I shifted on my social media, but now it's going to take several months for them to respond to that shift, to really resonate with it. And so now it's the same thing as my husband has just started his own personal development journey. My girls are like, I don't know. Like, are these changes? This is weird. Is he really here to stay? Is this how it's going to be from now on? Like, they just are unsure. And it's going to take a few months for them to like respond and be like, okay, this is safe. This is how it's going to be from now on. And so now where I'm at, they trust I am their solid foundation. I have the expanded capacity as a mom to not only handle a hell of a lot more that life has thrown my way lately, but also handle it with more grace and dignity versus freaking out, feeling overwhelmed. I have been in a little bit of overwhelm the last few months, not gonna lie. I've recognized, but I catch it faster now. I'm like, oh, I'm in that habit of overwhelm. What's going on? Oh, I'm doing a shitty job at managing how I'm scheduling my days because I'm kind of letting my appointments get all over instead of keeping it strict. So doing that and just giving the time for all of it to take root and to take hold. And now my girls get the more expanded version of me, the version of me that I've always wanted to be. I didn't think that was possible for me, but I just got really consistent at showing up as who I wanted to be. And then I created the results in my life. I knew how I wanted my life to feel. And I held on to that because the feeling begins to create the vision. So for you, I want to give you just a few journaling prompts here, but I really want you to sit down and be like, how do I want my life to feel? And then I want you to make a lot of your decisions. Ashley Lemieux actually talked about this, and let's see if I can dig through my notes fast enough to find it. But she really talked about what she calls, what does she call it? But it was basically creating, here it is. It was basically creating, it was her clarity mapping is what she called it. But basically I do this in a different way. I do this through my breath work. How do you want your life to feel? The feeling creates the vision. Now you get to make your decisions from this feeling. So I wrote down for myself, I'll just share this here. I want to feel empowered and peaceful in my life. I want to feel that inner peace. Trent Shelton's really on an inner peace journey, and he talked about it a lot, but I want to feel internal peace. What makes me feel that? One, when I have a regular breathwork practice. Two, Fulfilling relationships. Fulfilling relationships in my life, friends, family. I've had to cut off some toxic family members. That's hard. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to say that that is easy. That is freaking hard, but so worth it. Being a present mom, when I eat healthy, my podcast, I freaking love showing up here for you. Like, this is one of my favorite things. Journaling really helps me like stay at peace in my life, making sure I get my workout in. I probably already said that, but you get the point. Then I get to make decisions. So if somebody asks me to do something, I'm like, is this going to bring more stress or more peace into my life? Right? So it's like, oh yeah, can you volunteer for this? Like at the school or whatever. My kids know I don't volunteer for a thing. I will volunteer to send goodies for your Thanksgiving feast at school. Like, that's what you can sign me up for. I will not join on any field trips. Do not sign me up for the pumpkin patch. Like, I'm not that mom. I don't find joy in that. I really don't. What I find joy in is being able to get all of my work done while my kids are at school so that when they come home, I get to be present for them. That is what brings me joy. So if other moms who really love to go on field trips with their kids can show up and chaperone and help out, more power to them. So think of the things that bring you more peace, joy, happiness, like whatever that feeling you want to create in your life is, empowerment. Make your decisions from that place. And then also, where are you not feeling that in your life? I want you to really think about that today. Where are you not feeling that in your life? Okay, so how do you want your life to feel? Life to feel, right? What makes you feel that? And then make your decisions from that place. And what isn't feeling that way right now? Like, what is not feeling good for you right now? Really think about that. And then allow yourself the space to like fix that or to shift that. I never say fix. I never think anything's a true problem, but something that you get to change. Like, I mean, I guess there are true problems, but if it's a toxic relationship, it's like, oh, I actually just got to put a boundary in place here. So I really want you to think about those things today. How you want your life to feel, what will help you feel that way, what isn't feeling that way right now, and then just knowing that you get to shift it and don't shift everything at once. Putting boundaries in place is not easy. And I also want to remind you, I have a whole podcast episode on this. I can't remember which episode number. Maybe I need to do an updated version too. But when you start to put boundaries in place, you also have to know that those other people are going to cross them multiple times, and you are going to have to continue reestablishing until they get it. So don't think that you're going to put a boundary in place. They're going to behave perfectly that first time. Some might, who knows? Or some might just be butthurt that you put the boundary in place and you won't hear from them for a while. Okay, but you get to keep reestablishing that boundary, and then it gets easier and easier because what you're doing is you're increasing your resilience, you're increasing your tolerance to like hold that emotion and protect yourself. Because society teaches us that we should people please. We people please to keep the peace within our families, within our friends, with other people, and it doesn't serve us because then we are not feeling that inner peace within ourselves because we're constantly pleasing everyone else. So just really think about that. So we don't want to change everything all at once. We just want to pick one. Pick one that's going to bring you inner peace. So if your kids come home from school and they walk in the door squealing and making all these awful noises, and then they drop their backpack and then they rip everything out of their backpack and leave it all over the living room floor, not speaking from experience or anything, like you get to set a boundary in place and be like, okay, you know what? If you want to keep doing this, that's great. Here's the consequence. And then you just follow through, knowing you're probably going to have to remind them, 5, 6, 7, 8 times until it finally sticks. But if they do it once and you're like, screw it, they're never going to get it, and you don't hold that boundary firm, well, yeah, they're going to keep doing it. Like, I have a little boy who is really good at making a peanut butter sandwich and then sitting down to eat it and then leaving the plate on the table, leaving the peanut butter and the honey on the counter, and never cleaning up. So it's like, okay, what's the boundary here? Obviously, I can't starve him. So we got to pick something better. But like, holy cow, freaking clean up a mess. But if we continue to go behind and sweep that up and clean it up for them, are they ever going to learn to take care of their own crap? Right? So the other day, as hard as it was for me, I left all of his stuff out all day while he was at school. I'm not going to lie, that's really hard for me. Because that's typically what I do is they'll leave and then I'll like wipe off counters, I'll vacuum the house just a little bit, just like a quick 20-minute house cleanup before I get started on my work day. That's just like my way of, I don't know, diving in. I also like to clean, but I left it on the counter. When he got home, I was like, dude, you got to get all this done. And he cleaned it all up. We had a talk around it. And now I just ask him, like, do you understand my frustration when I have to ask you 50 times to do something? And he's like, yeah. So I was like, okay, like, we're not going to be able to play the iPad today because actually you just took the iPad time to do that. Or you just took this time, like, usually it's on Fridays. We have cute little triplets that live here in town that will come over to play. Like, you just lost triplet time. Like, we're not going to be able to go over to their house today because you're going to have to spend that time cleaning up. So I want you to really think through what's going to work for you, establishing that to a point where you feel really good holding firm on that boundary. And then let's introduce something else that you need to reintroduce or shift something that you're wanting to shift. And then little by little, you're going to build your confidence with yourself. And you're going to wake up the next morning and be like, okay, I didn't die. I'm still here. Like, this is my thing. I'll wake up and I'll be like, I didn't die. Okay. Knowing that we are safe to hold that boundary. And I really want that for you because that's when you start to feel that inner peace. The inner peace and setting that boundary is not to keep people out. It is to allow in what you choose to allow in. And so I just want you to really think about that today. So I'll talk to you next time.